Greetings, nerds. Let's talk about yellow. So, yellow, from mini painters' perspective, is really hard to paint because they think it's too transparent. Now, yellows from hobby companies are always going to be, or almost always going to be, not always, but almost always going to be an aerolite yellow, like a Hansa yellow, or they're going to be a bismuth vanadate yellow, or not bismuth vanadate, they're going to be a benzimidazolone yellow. More often than not, they're going to be Hansa yellow. Now, Hansa yellow is very transparent in most cases. That one's fairly opaque, and it's actually pretty nice, but it's a more expensive yellow from what a hobby company wants to use. They want to use the cheapest possible thing. They're going to lower the pigmentation compared to a professional paint as well, so the yellow is going to suffer very heavily. So the reason why a yellow is so hard to paint with for hobby paints specifically is because the paint is not very high quality. That's honestly the real answer there. I know that's not the answer you wanted to hear, but that is the answer you're going to get. And that's the unfortunate truth. So you have a few options here. You can switch over to a professional thing. You can get some bismuth vanadate. You can get one coat over black. Or you can do what you should and use that paint that you have. Just switch out from black. You have a couple options here. People in this hobby space will recommend using pink or magenta. But this gives an orange hue. If I want to paint orange, I'm going to paint orange. I want to paint yellow, which means I'm going to be painting my goddamn yellow. Okay? I want to paint my yellow. So you have two options for this, in my opinion. You have brown. So we have two different browns here. We have burnt umber and we have raw umber. Raw umber is going to give a little bit more of the greenish hue compared to the burnt umber, but it's much darker. So it's going to give that John Blanche-esque shadow color compared to black, where black is just going to make it look green. Okay? Compare the two. But we're going to see it as more yellow. Now, yes, this is not a beginner's thing in reality. Let's put some dioxazine down here real quick too. Dioxazine is a violet that's so dark it almost looks black. But we're going to show something here with it in a moment. This is a little bit important. So the reason why I have violet down here is because when you mix in when you mix the two in, it'll turn brown. Okay? When you put it over violet, and you can really see it where the albedo is highest, where the brush stroke is. Albedo is the amount of layers where the albedo is. So you can see it really darkens down the yellow. It still looks like a yellow, but it looks like a dark yellow. When we mix it together, brown into a dark yellow, into a much brighter yellow, because the more yellow I put in, the more bright it becomes. But it darkens it down from the lemon yellow it was quite considerably. Now, once that's dry, we'll go over that with the yellow just to kind of show you what a dark violet would look like. Now, with bismuth vanadate, one coat coverage. Let's show that off right here. Okay. Little bit on the brush. Very little bit. Wet brush. So we see it goes over black perfectly fine. Now, Pro Acryl does have a bismuth vanadate, but it is lower pigmentation, so it's going to take more than one coat to do that. This is Golden Soflat, which has higher pigmentation, so it's going to take one coat. But you'll need to spend a lot more money to get it up front than you will with Pro Acryl. Pro Acryl, I think it's like $6 versus the smallest bottle for this is $20. Because the Series 9 is a really expensive paint. So you'll get a better result out of this, but it's more money up front. Way more money. And this 4-ounce bottle right here, this was $30 roughly. Was it worth it to me? Yes, it was. Do I think you should buy it? No, it's too expensive for most people. That's really expensive. That should be dry now. Yep. So we're going to go over this with some benzimidazole lemon, just to kind of show you what the dioxazine would do, because this is going to be the most common. One thick coat, the people chanted. As you see, it darkens down to yellow while still keeping yellow. Turns a little bit brown, which is fine. Now, how you want to do this is all up to you. There's no one stopping you from doing it either way. I just don't like that way, so I wanted to give more options. I just don't like the look. If you don't like the look, but this is how everyone says this is the only way to paint yellow, no, it's not. Those people shouldn't be listened to at all. They're gatekeeping and they're assholes. And yes, that's a lot of the mini painters out there. I know. And I just called out like 70% of the community for doing that. But you're gatekeeping and you're an asshole. Where was I going with yellow again? I don't know. That's the end of the video, I guess. There really isn't that much to yellow because we can one coat black with it just by using the correct pigment. We can do a couple other things like use yellow ochre as our base. So you can do a tau ochre and then go over it with like flash gits or something like that to get a really bright punchy yellow, because the tau ochre is going to be more opaque. You can use another thing that you can do is use a like an unbleached titanium, a titanium buff, not hexwraith, screaming skull, Xandri dust, I think, something like that. Then paint yellow over that. That's another way to do it. There's a lot of ways to do it. You don't have to use the stereotypical chaos black and then do white over it. You can do a lot more than just that. Doing something like Xandri dust and then painting yellow over that is going to give you a much better effect than just pure white as well. It's going to give much brighter, punchier yellow because it's a warm coat over a warm coat. Or, well, yellow can be cold, but whatever. Which, you know what, that's actually a really cool effect. Let's show that off real quick. So, color temperature is roughly fairly meaningless in reality. It's relative. So we have diarylide yellow, and we have our cool yellow here. Now, yellow, if we turn up this light real quick, yellow is really weird because we can tell this is a cool tone. Let's remove these out of here. Because, you know, when we compare it to this warm yellow here, it looks warm, or it looks cooler. We remove it away, and this actually kind of changes color a little bit. Put it back, and it looks more orange. Now, by the same stretch, take it away, and it goes back to looking a little more yellow. Now, we put this here, a much cooler yellow, next to this, and it starts looking more orange. We go back here, and it changes color again because of how you're perceiving yellow. It's just one of those really weird things to notice about yellow. Maybe you noticed that, maybe you didn't. Some people notice that, some people won't. Either way, that's it. Bye, I guess, whatever. There's a Discord down below in the description if you want to join.